We're joined on the line by Rhodes SRC Activism and Transformation Councillor Naledi Mashishi. Naledi, good afternoon to you. Thank you for coming on to the programme at this hour. Now, we've just played our viewers a 7-minute video of how things unfolded on the campus just a short while ago over the course of the afternoon. My understanding was that there were 70 students in a lecture hall, that protesters entered that hall, and that the students in that hall stood their ground and said to the protesters, "We are here to learn, get out," and the violence ensued from there. Is that the way you understand it to have happened?
Yes, I was not physically present in the lecture hall at the time, but from the reports I've gotten from other students, my other colleagues, that is what happened this morning. There were a group of students who went to go and disrupt lectures, as we've been having an academic shutdown for the past few days, and the management decided that today would be resuming with academics. And so protesting students were not happy with that, and so some went to disrupt this lecture. And from my understanding, there were students who were arrested as a result of that.
Now, we know that there's an interdict preventing students from disrupting lectures, from committing other acts of violence like assault, intimidation, kidnapping. So just give us a sense, do you feel that police were justified in taking action against those who disrupted lectures or not?
That's a tricky question. I feel as though they weren't, in the sense that number one, the force that was used was excessive, but number two, the protesting action was in fact peaceful. The students weren't going into those lecture halls and assaulting other students or anything like that. They were just going in there to disrupt. And I feel that the reason that management is running away from the fact that the reason that protests are continuing is because they have not really provided students with satisfactory answers regarding to peace must fall and regarding the demands that are made. Negotiations right now have not gone anywhere. They've not moved sufficiently to allow for those protesting students to feel, okay, now is the time for us to start protesting. And so it's very difficult for us to then resume business as usual when nothing has been resolved.
You know, it's a very interesting question, because one has to, in order to be objective, view it from both sides. On the one hand, we hear students in this video saying we want free education. It was what was promised to us in 1994, and one sympathizes with the plight of those who cannot go to university and learn because they can't afford it. On the other hand, there are children at university or students who are in those lecture halls because they're also afraid for their future. They're afraid that if they don't pass these exams, they won't be able to continue with their lives and progress from this point onwards. And there is the issue of democracy. Shouldn't those who want to continue learning while the university is open, shouldn't they be allowed to continue doing that while the protests continue?
Well, I mean, yes, those are all very interesting questions. I mean, you speak about students being afraid for their future. I think that's one thing that we need to make clear here, is that a lot of people have misread the situation and said, oh, these students are protesting, they just don't want to write exams, when that's not the case. All students at Rhodes University want to write our exams. We all want to write the degree. We all want to get our degrees, rather. But the issue now is that there are many who, yes, they will write their exams at the end of the year, and then they will not be able to come back to Rhodes University next year because they can't afford to, or they'll write their exams at the end of the year and then they'll be swamped with all this debt from NASFAS, from student loans that will take them years and years to come out of. So it's a very complex issue. And I mean, yes, those who have, I mean, you speak about those having a right to education and a right to continue going to classes, and that is certainly true. But now that's also balanced with the right of all those from all backgrounds to be able to access university spaces, a right that currently is not in place, in the sense that there are students who cannot access university because of their financial background, and that is what this fight is about. So this fight is really about realizing the right for everyone to be educated regardless of background. So there's a lot of it's a contention between those issues, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, I quite understand. I mean, it's a very, very complex issue. Your case is interesting in that you've got Sizwe Mabizela as the Vice-Chancellor of that university, and whereas many other VCs throughout the country have been criticised for sitting in their ivory towers, not engaging with students, perhaps Sizwe Mabizela gives us the impression of being quite different. We've seen him march with the students. We've seen him being, in the past, very sympathetic to the student cause, and we've also seen him give give up some of his own income, his salary, in order to provide bursaries for students. Wouldn't you say that this is a man that you can approach and speak to without resorting to the kind of tactics where people are likely to get hurt, because he is someone who will hear you and perhaps even intercede on the part of students?
I think that part of the issue is here that a lot of students are protesting because they feel as though they cannot do exactly what you've described. I mean, to use our own cases in SRC, we went and we conducted res visits where we spoke to students living in the various residences, and we just to get a sense of what they were thinking about fees must fall and possible solutions. And one of the solutions that students came up with again and again was a sliding scale system of payment, where some people, where those who can afford, pay the full fees, and then other people pay 50% of the fees, and things like that. And so we tabled this before management, and then they said, okay, well, look at this. We didn't hear anything about it. Then a week later, when protests started and when protests were really at their height, the protesters suggested a sliding scale system, and then management said, oh, this is the first time we've heard of this. So when things like that happen, it becomes quite difficult and quite frustrating to just, it gives you the sense that you can't really just sit down and have a conversation, because when you do sit down and have a conversation, whatever you're saying will either not be listened to immediately, or it'll be relegated to a task team that'll take months and months and months to reach any kind of resolution around what you're saying. So those are the issues that we're really dealing with, and that's why students feel the need to resort to protest action.
Are you saying you've lost faith in Sizwe Mabizela as a leader at that university?
I don't know if it would be fair to say, to pin it all on Dr. Mabizela, because Dr. Mabizela does not work alone. He's not the only person in management. He has an entire sort of a team, so to speak, who work with him. And I feel as though, and this is a point that students have made over and over again, we feel as though they often throw him under the bus for decisions that they as a collective may have made. But at the same time, there has been a loss of faith, and certainly a loss of trust, especially when police are being called on campus and students are being arrested and students being shot with rubber bullets. There's a loss of trust.
Can I ask you, I mean, we've heard analysts tell us that it's the hardening of positions on both sides that is preventing any progress at this point. And watching these visuals, clearly, the stalemate has reached Rhodes University as well. Is there a middle ground? Is it possible for both sides to compromise so that some sort of solution can be reached where perhaps if there's not free education from the beginning of 2017, at least there is a concerted effort to work towards it in the coming years, in a shorter frame of time than perhaps government is prepared to, but a commitment nonetheless to working towards that?
Look, I think that the one thing that's confusing a lot of people is a lot of people think that protesters are saying we want free education in January 2017. Whereas from what I've seen from the negotiations that I've been in and the engagements that I've had with other protesters, we're not saying that the university itself must provide everyone with free education in January 2017, because of course we realize that is not possible. But rather, like you said, you want to see a commitment towards free education. You want to see the university committing to push for higher education at a sort of governmental level, because we as students recognize that we don't have the same power that BCs do in that department.
Well, wouldn't you say the Fees Commission is a move towards that?
The issue that I personally have with the Fees Commission is the Fees Commission is doing research that has already been done. We have the Ramaphosa report. We have another report written by, I think, a man named Derek Schwartz, showing how free education for the poor is feasible in South Africa at this point in time. We have this research that's been done. And so for me, the Fees Commission feels like a delayed tactic in the sense that they're doing something that's already there. So for me personally, I feel, why isn't the government taking what already exists and implementing it, instead of taking another, goodness knows how many months to do something that's already been done?
Very interesting talking to you. Thanks very much for putting your side across. Naledi Mashishi from the Rhodes Student Representative Council.